Arrogance and confidence go hand in hand. I often know how I come across. I know, some people will be magnetized by my confidence, the way I am, the way I just speak my thoughts. Because there's people who are more reserved, so they maybe hold themselves back. They don't want to really just exude who they are because there is often reactions to that. So sometimes it's easy just to like be a really really modest version of self. But that's what it comes down to. It's that balance between humility and confidence is so fine, and it's really hard to find that absolute balance because you can play it small. You can act like maybe you're not as good at what you do, or you don't believe in yourself as much because it'll help other people feel comfortable, and then maybe they don't judge you. So that you literally end up playing it small, or you just say, you know what, I'm good at this. I'm great at that. I love who I am, and then it rubs people the wrong way. So finding that balance is really, really hard. And like I say, I always know when I talk how I'm coming across, which is why I keep like sort of like setting the tone early. So I'll always say like, I know I'm going to come across arrogant. I know I'm going to come because I just know how the majority of people think. It's just innately in them to feel threatened by it. But also, people are free to have their own opinion. Some content creators I listen to, and for me, they're just too loud. There's being assertive, but then there's like, I think trying too hard to be dominant, and that drives me crazy. You don't need people to be loud to get the message across, and I end up just getting a headache because it's like barking dogs. It's like, yeah, damn, you don't need to be like that. Just confidence is just like being yourself, being measured and controlled. I think that's confidence. So, like when I talk, I don't perceive arrogance, but like I said, if people do, there's not much I can do about that. In any case, there are times when I know I come across. Look, this isn't me saying I'm not arrogant to try and convince people I'm not arrogant. It's just explaining it a little bit. I think we all have a level of it to an extent. So I'm not here to say, oh, I'm perfectly humble. That's not the case at all. It depends on the setting, depends on the people you're surrounded by. So, like, I know my confidence and I know my abilities, and I don't feel inferior to anyone. So, for instance, if someone tried to dominate me, it's like I'm going to come up with a measured response, however I choose to respond, but I don't mind the challenge. So, yeah, I mean, someone might try to make like a remark at me or something in a situation to try to diminish my light somehow, and it'd be like, well, I'm going to make you look stupid now because I'm probably more intelligent. I'm probably quick witted. I'm very good at communicating. I can articulate my message. Um, and I have like comedic timing, so I know how to react, And it's like, yeah, we'll be our match in any walk of life. But I know the majority of people underestimate me, and then it comes as a shock when I have to put them in their place somehow. And it's like, man, this is fun. Again, the arrogant side. So sometimes humility is a beautiful thing too. So sometimes we don't need to react. But anyway, so like I talk about it a lot. When I think of like the best person I know is my daughter. Um, she is like the most balanced version. She's like, I keep thinking back, like, I don't want to diminish. Sometimes you put people on pedestals, though. So sometimes I give her more, little bit like, I give her more credit than perhaps she deserves sometimes. Because I do little comparisons sometimes, and I think, oh, actually my strengths in this are actually stronger. So like I could sit there and say she's better than me at all these things, and I tend to say that. And then when I reflect a little bit, I think, well, actually, I think I have more resilience. I am stronger in this side. And again, it is that confidence, perceived arrogance, perhaps is arrogance because it's something that I have that's firmer than her. So it's like, for instance, I'm far less likely to be taken advantage of. So something that maybe someone sees as a weakness is actually incredible strength. She's far more vulnerable than me. Um, but something I said to her earlier is like she's 15. She's just been turned 15. And I was thinking about myself at 15. Now I knew I weren't stupid at 15. I was smart. But I just never took life seriously, if you like, at 15. I was like for instance, if you just go back, I mentioned a little bit in my book just to give people like an idea. Throughout school, I was never really interested. So I just took it, I just messed about really, never focusing. So I started high school in like the bottom set of everything. It's just the way they were giving it. I can't remember what happened with the SATs test. I'm not sure if I finished it. I don't know what happened. I just got put in the bottom sets. And like throughout this school whatever, throughout the years. I just kept getting elevated. In the end, I was top set of everything, and I weren't even trying. And I still wasn't paying attention, and I still wasn't taking it seriously. For instance, this is laughable. I've done books. I can articulate. I can write. I can communicate. I'm good. I'm good at what I do. And yet, at school, I got a D. I got a D in English language and literature. Think about why did you get a D? Because I didn't even do the essay. So like half of the curriculum, I think, was an essay, and then the other half was like you had to do the exam. So the essay was an important part of it. I can't even remember submitting it, and if I did, I'd have done a very basic just to not get told off for not doing it because it was part of your homework or something. But I never really cared. It wasn't. I didn't realize what I was going to be aiming for later in life. So I don't care. It doesn't, and I think that's an important part of the journey as well. Like things you do earlier in life don't define your life. So you don't need a fancy certificate. You don't need like academia to signify your value and worth. So yeah, I got a D in English language and literature, but it was my own downfall. I was top set of every class, which tells you the potential I had. Mathematics, I got a C. Wasn't actually my fault because effectively it was like, I don't know what it's like now, but back when I did my GCSEs, I think it was 1999. I was told there's two papers. One is if you don't get a C grade, you won't get graded at all. So you could end up with nothing. Or the other paper is the maximum you can get is a C, which I don't think is particularly fair. It's a lot of pressure. And because I was the one that was a bit less serious than everybody else, I think they were worried about how I would perform. And I got a C to grade. But I chose the weaker paper. I couldn't get a higher grade. So if someone sees the grade and goes, you got a C, but I couldn't get a higher grade. The paper only went to a C. I wasn't going to risk getting nothing. I'm just showing my personality a little bit, like where I was back then. So it wasn't that I didn't have intelligence, I just was immature. So boys grow up later in life, I think they mature later, and I certainly matured later rather than earlier. For instance, there was a design technology, I think it was graphic design. Everybody else who was doing design technology on other curriculum, so like if they was doing like woodwork or something like that, theirs was only an hour exam. Ours was 2 hours. So they said, anybody that's not doing this, blah, 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 you leave, like get up and leave. So like it was really just my class left, so I left with them. I think I got an F in that, E or an F. I didn't finish the exam. I just walked off. I didn't care about it. It wasn't something I was going to use. That's not something I've ever needed. It's like I don't understand the point of this. I know we're deviating a little bit, but I think it's really just important to, I think, just put things into perspective there. And so, for instance, I went to college, and unfortunately, I didn't, because I wasn't thinking that far ahead. So I've gone to college thinking I'm doing computer programming. They said you don't have the grades. Unfortunately, you need 4 GCSEs. I think it's C and above. I can't remember what it was. But if you do an intermediate study, for the year, and then if you pass that, we can put you on the programming one. So I did that, passed that, and I was just fed up with studying at that point. So I just left. They offered me the opportunity, and I was like, I'm done. I'm done now. Yeah. And then I think back in 2012, I think it was around about 2012, because my daughter was born 2010, and it's about 2 years. So then I'm thinking, better get my life in order a little bit here. Like, let's focus. Like, I know I can do a lot. And I passed the university course. I was going to go for a degree because it was computer. Again, I think that was computer programming. Yeah, because I was going to get a degree in IT. I realized how boring it is. I like using computers, but I couldn't figure out what I want. In the end, I started gravitating towards web design on my own. I was learning it myself. And, I've done my own website and things like that. So that's pretty cool. Like, for instance, if I don't know if I can get it up. I just put things in perspective, really. Like, if you think about arrogance, I'm just trying to show confidence. Like, we have growth and people don't like it. It really gets a bit like threatening to people when they see growth, So now, let's start there. Oh, for crying out loud, let me just get rid of that. Right. So anyway, you look at the website. I did it. So I left college. I left university after a computer programming course because it started doing binary, networking, mathematics. I was like, this is boring the shit out of me. I want to shoot myself. I don't care about a degree that much. So I was more interested in web design. I didn't need a degree for that. And I've done my own website, and I've done a few others in the past. I'm not happy enough with it. I'm not saying it's a masterpiece, but it's like I've managed to portray, I think, my skills and talents, what I'm trying to show. I'm not trying to show my web design skills, but at least I'm showing off my books, my podcast, my YouTube channel, The articles I write on my website, like with blogs and audiobooks, and yeah, like I said, I don't know if I already said books, but things like that. So that's pretty cool. Um, so yeah, I challenged myself, and then like later in life, I think only a few years ago, 2022. So it wasn't long ago, maybe 3 years ago. I s- I started studying towards an English degree because I thought, you know what, I've done a load of books at this point. I've done 6 books. I think at that point I'd done 5, 4 or 5. I can't remember. But I was like, you know what, I could challenge. I've done that. Let's do something else. But I was working 60 hours a week, so I was doing full time and overtime. I was writing my next book, and I'm trying to find like 18, 20 hours a week to study. And it was like, this is pushing the life out of me. I can't do all three. One's paying my bills and giving me a decent quality of life. The other thing's my future, like the thing that matters more to me than a study. I'm not going to give up writing my books for the next 4 or 5 years because of studies. So in the end, I thought I don't need a piece of paper to tell me I'm good enough. I already know I'm good enough. So effectively, like it's like almost like I put my money where my mouth is. I'm confident enough without the piece of paper. So um, if anyone like perceives arrogance in any of that journey, that's up to them. Um, I've shared a lot in my life with my books and things. If people read that, I think that's the thing. It's like if people was to read my books, you would have a real intimate understanding of the way my mind works, because that's what I've put on the paper. Even if you had like an idea of who I am, and until you read the books, you wouldn't get into my mind. Then you would truly understand how I operate. And I actually have a lot of humility because I've actually gone out of my way to try to lift people up with me. So where I grow and I learn things, I don't gatekeep. I'm more interested in saying, okay, I understand people don't have role models. Some people struggle to get out of difficult situations. They struggle to see the light at the end of the tunnel and all these things. Well, I'm going to document how I get through difficult, challenging situations and how I perceive these things. And I think it's just going to be like a source of light for others. And that's what it is. And I stand by the work I do. And again, haven't had to wait for someone to tell me it's great. I know it's good. Um, anyway, I don't want to digress too far because like I said something to my daughter, like I said there, where I think I have my strengths, but at her age, she is more emotionally intelligent than I am. Because the reality is, look, there's a lot that's her personality, but she's learned an awful lot from me. Because all the things I write about in my books, for instance, I've been like helping her even since she was younger. Don't let people take advantage of you. Don't worry about what people say about you. You can't no, because she is such a beautiful soul. Like people just gravitate to her. She's just so nice. She's funny. She's caring. She's charismatic. She's just incredible. And I don't say it because she's my daughter. Like this is just as a human being, she's always been incredible. I could pick out a load of videos and just show them, and you'd say that's adorable. The trouble is, she was always susceptible to the opinions of others in the sense that it made her feel low about herself if someone didn't like her. And it was so frustrating for me because it's like you're the best person I know. Like that doesn't even make sense. Just because someone doesn't see your value doesn't make you not make you like inferior. You're not worth it. So I've made her a powerhouse. Like literally, she still has a lot of humility in her daily life. She is incredible. Like she's so supportive of her friend group. She doesn't hang around with people who are toxic. She's very delicate how she handles situations. I'm more like a ball in a china shop. And I'm like, well, you know how I'd handle that, don't you? I'd just tell them to off. If someone, I just say it to people. I don't care. I don't care about your reaction. If I think you're a dickhead and you're pushing me, you're a dickhead. Go away. Leave me alone. I'd just rather cut it off there and then. But she's like, it's more complicated than that because I have to be around them all the time. I said, yeah, but that's the thing. I don't mind uncomfortable energy. I don't mind being around people, but I don't mind an uncomfortable situation. I can handle all that. But that's where we're a bit different. And it's fine because she's figuring it out for herself, and it's understanding you're like how to balance your place in society and things. But she's really figuring it out. And at 15, I think she's incredible. Like the growth I witness her have, and her mastering her circumstances in her own way. Like she takes on board the things I say. So now, like for instance, she had a real hard time going to school for a few years. Like she doesn't live with me, and it's frustrating for me because it's like I would love to be able to handle that. But I gave her a pep talk I think last summer, and I just made the point to her that if anyone like is rude to you, they're bullying you, they say things, just understand that they don't feel confident in themselves. Just because someone projects strength, it clearly demonstrates they're not confident because people who They believe in themselves. They have no reason to target other people like that, you know? So there's a frustration, there's a jealousy because of your light and the fact that people just naturally gravitate to you and you're funny, you're whimsical, you're intelligent, you know who you are. That's a threat to people who don't. So you can't you can't take it personal. Effectively, all you need to do, you watch these people and you just see how miserable they are. If you just watch them closely, watch how they behave with people, and they always need people to sort of like acknowledge them and put them on a pedestal for them to be strong. You don't need those things. Plus, in life, you're not always going to have everybody like you, and you have to make peace with that. I said it doesn't. There's just sometimes there's just no reason. It's like just some people are not meant for us. You can't possibly put everybody in a room and you're all going to love each other. That's not how the world works, unfortunately. People just naturally gravitate to energy that feels comfortable to them, and sometimes your energy is going to shine a light on their negativity, and it's going to make them reactive. So you're a threat to those sort of people. So I'm teaching her those things, and then she's putting it into practice. But anyway, so we just sending some weird message. Like she was sending me some odd messages today, like in night, like in the evening, like nighttime. Actually, she stays up late like me, and she's put how I imagine my father when he was a child, and I'm like, what the hell? What is this? I was trying to show it, and I'm like, what the hell is this? Oh, I tried to. Oh, it's not going to. Anyway, it's a bit blurry. Effectively, it's a small body with a man's head. I go, what the hell does that mean? Like, always serious? But I can't imagine you young, so I just imagine you with your face just 2 feet tall. Oh, and it's a bit strange. And then she sends me another weird one like that. Me imagining my dad as a baby. Again, it's like a full-grown face. It's a full-grown face on a baby. And I'm like, you're so strange. And I did say this. I said, at the age you're at, you have more emotional intelligence than me at that age. So what that shows me is the potential for her is crazy. Because, like, for instance, I didn't have people guiding me in the way that I guide her, for instance, though. But like, she has this charisma anyway. So it's like I'm just like really intrigued by who she'll become as she gets older, you know. But life challenges us all the time, and there's no way of knowing one way or another. But one thing she has is me. So she'll always have me for advice when she needs it. You know, she can talk to me about anything. She knows that. And I think that's the beauty of our relationship, you know. So, like, I can see when she says things, I understand where she's coming from. Where I think if she was to say the things that she says to me, she would come across abrasive and arrogant. Yet she doesn't talk like that normally to everybody else. I'm the one that talks like that, you know. So people can come up with like ideas of who people are, but to her friends, she wouldn't behave like that. She might make it the odd remark just to make it a joke because that's how humor is, you know. So anyway, I said that at the age you're at, you have more emotional intelligence than me at that age. She said, "I know." I'm like, God damn, that's how I'll come across. And then I said, "And check you full of yourself." She put, "I am and proud." And then I put, "You're like Papa. You're like Papa didn't raise no fool." Both just sent it laughing emojis. But that's the thing, like she's acknowledging that she knows that she's just more emotionally intelligent than me at that age. But really, how could she possibly know? Because she wasn't there when I was that age. But I think it's just the things I tell her, and really, it's just an acknowledgement that she's emotionally intelligent. Because I don't want to be rude, and this is what I said. Like sometimes we put people on pedestals. Like I'm not. This is a tricky one because like I absolutely adore her. Like I was going to say to her, you're like more intelligent and everything than me at that age, but I did think I don't know about like emotional intelligence for sure. Intelligence, I'm not sure, and I'm not doing that. It's a hard thing because you want them to tick all the boxes above you, but it's not a competition, you know. And it's like I think as a human, she's a blessing, but we're all going to have our own strengths and weaknesses. Like I have no doubt she'd have the potential to speak on camera like I do. I have no doubt she could, if she really wanted to, she could do all the things that I'm pushing towards, you know? But in all honesty, I don't think she will. I actually don't think she will. Like, I'm not going to push her one way or another. And I recognize her side of her life story would be hugely healing for people, you know? because it's very specific. It's the child's perspective of going through hardship, like the things she's experienced. But I'm not sure she'd want to go near that, like, to be totally honest, to the depths that it would require. And I'm like, so I don't really know where her path takes her. So I think what it just shows me a little bit there is just like we all have our strengths. So maybe I can go to places that she just wouldn't want to. So that makes my strength in that way. But I'm just intrigued by where she takes her life, where it goes in life and things. Um, again, I would never obviously when it comes to her, I would never be arrogant. I'd rather push her above myself every day of the week. But I think sometimes we have to be a bit more pragmatic and realistic and just say, like, okay, actually, I do have strengths that I'm not sure she possesses, but we'll see. You know, like at the moment, I think she's more interested in art than she is writing. So she might not even get into writing. That might not be something she's interested in. But then she might gravitate to it later. I don't know. But yeah, I just think our skills and talents sort of like blend and deviate and all sorts. But as I said at the beginning there, like arrogance and confidence blend hand in hand. And it's a fine line with trying to balance sort of humility. And I think people can take people the wrong way all the time. So the one thing like with me is you'll always get the truth. I don't deviate from the truth. I've got no interest in trying to like keep a character going. It'd drive me nuts. That's part of what the problem is. Plus, I'm all about justice, and it goes against justice if you can't be honest. And the thing is, I spent my whole life watching everybody lie around me, and it drives me absolutely insane. It's all to put up a persona, but you can see how vile they are, really. And it's like the mask wears thin. It doesn't add up. The character you're presenting doesn't make sense. People they act like they're perfect, yet they gossip all the time. And then it's like the people they're gossiping about are the same people they're confiding in each other about sort of life. So they go to each other, like multiple people, and they'll lean on them for support, and then they'll have that whole story thrown around to other people, and they'll mock them for it. And then when they turn up, they smile to their face again. But each of them will do it to each other. It's a very strange dynamic, isn't it? And you look and think, this is dysfunctional. This is so dysfunctional, and yet that's the persona you're trying to protect by lying all the time. And I look and just think, how hard is it to tell the truth? And then you look around the world and you just think, God damn, no one's honest. I'm honest. I've never felt comfortable lying, and I just don't see the point anyway. So like, sod it. I'm not. A lot of time I'd laugh if I'm lying because I can't hold it. In the end, it's like I can't even bother to try. It's just not It's pointless. Don't know where I was going with that. There was somewhere I was going. I can't remember where I was going. Oh, I can't remember where I was going. Completely threw myself for a loop there, going on a little bit of a tangent. Oh, that's it. So, like, for instance, if I had to meet people who I've never met before, I don't mind being in crowds. I don't mind meeting people. I don't get intimidated. That's the thing with me. If I get uncomfortable, I'll just leave. Like, because I don't like being around the wrong people. So even if I look awkward leaving, I don't care how I look though. So if it's like, oh, he's so awkward. No, I'm not awkward. I just run. It's like, I just don't want to waste my time in the wrong environment. So one of the biggest problems with me is, it's like if someone was to stay, if you was to sit in a group, for instance, new people you never met before, and they say, do you mind if we ask you some questions? Like, because they might want to get to know you. The one thing I'll just make clear straight away is, just be careful what you ask, because if you're not sure whether you're going to like the answer, you best not ask the question. And then after that, ask your questions. But I'm only going to tell you the truth. So if you don't like hearing the truth, don't ask the question, because it's your own fault for asking it. Do you know what I mean? Like, for instance, let's say someone's an absolute dipshit and they're a pain in the arse constantly, and they want everyone to like them. And then they say, oh, do you like me? Oh, for God's sake. I'd rather not answer. Do you know what I mean? I'll try my best to deflect, but I wouldn't lie. I wouldn't say, oh, no, you're great. No, I can't say that if you're not. I would just try to deflect slightly. But if they push it, I'd have to say, no, I don't. And then naturally their answer is going to be, but why? And then I've got to tell them why. It's like, you did that to yourself, didn't you? You're the one that planted that situation, because I tried to not go there. And again, that is where you'll get accused of being arrogant. I don't see it as arrogance. I just see it as telling the truth. You just have integrity and you've been authentic. And it's something that's lacking in this world. Again, I try to point that out in the books. The one thing I'm trying to make people is be themselves. Not asking someone to be a mirror of me, because what's the point? Then you're not authentic. It just defeats the purpose, doesn't it? Everybody should just be themselves and refine yourself. So It's always healing, always growing, always expanding, But just don't be worried about people calling you whatever. So if someone says arrogant, it's like, whatever. Like I said, we all have a level of it, though. So, like, even if you don't intend to be arrogant, there's going to be times when you are. What can you do about it? But anyway, yeah. So it's just interesting. I think I think when my daughter said I can't remember what she said. When she said, "I know," I just thought, "Oh my god, the arrogance." That's what I thought. The arrogance, like, you cheeky. And I thought, oh, I must come across like that quite often, to be totally honest. But I knew where she come from. Um, yeah. So anyway, she's just like a little reflection of me to an extent, but she's very much her own person. So, like I said, she has her own values when it comes to certain situations, and I love that. So even though I'm a boy in a china shop, she chooses a different path. She does it a little bit more delicately, but still not letting herself be taken advantage of. And you're sitting there thinking, if you can pull it off, if you can pull that off and be as delicate as you can, then that's a great achievement. But to be honest, I just don't have the patience. That's the problem. It's like, who does that serve? If I do it delicately, it's just really to protect other people and try to deflect. And it's like, it's just a whole process. I just can't be asked with it. It's like, I'd rather just people don't like me and let's call it quits. I don't care. I don't mind being in uncomfortable situations, tense environments where the energy is like really, really like stale and stuff, where you think, oh God, this is terrible. Like, you can feel it. It's like, I don't even mind sitting in it. I genuinely couldn't care less. It's like, just don't talk to me and stay away from me and we're good. Simple. But anyway, like I say, people can, I think they can project, but sometimes it's how I'm doing. So, like I say, you gotta take the good with the bad, haven't you? So, like, if you're going to be outspoken, you're going to be direct, then you kind of have to take the good with the bad, don't you? Because you can't expect people to be comfortable with that, so people can actually react. But then it's like, that's their problem because I've moved on. And yeah. Anyway, I don't know if it's gone all over the place. It just started really just with me just thinking about that in general, like the balance. To balance humility is it's a freaking that is a task throughout life. That is not something I don't think anyone's just going to naturally master day one. Like I said, you get too much humility, you will effectively become subservient because if you humble yourself enough, you end up getting taken advantage of. And that's where you've got to ask yourself, how much of that are you going to be putting up with? So where do you set the boundary? Where is the boundary fine? Like, where is the perfect place to set a boundary? Because the real problem is you set it and then people abuse it and eventually you just get sick and tired of it. And it's a lot easier just to like call it quits. It's easier just to tell someone, I don't like you, leave me alone and let me get on with the rest of my life. I don't need to hear from you anymore. You don't need to hear from me anymore. We're done. It's simple this way. We don't need to explain anything. You're not going to listen to me. I really haven't got much to say anyway. I don't really listen to anything else you've got to say because I already know who you are. It's that you can't convince me otherwise. You'll always go back to the way you behave. And even if you don't, you've already offended me enough that I don't care. I wish you healing. I wish you do well in life, but it's not going to be around me. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. And then leave it there. I don't give a shit if they keep barking after that. It's like, I've got no interest now. I've told you I'm done. It's not, I don't need to convince you I'm done. I'm done. And that's what I'm like. So if someone tests my boundaries and pushes me enough, I just block. I just got to move on in life, So, and then of course, then would definitely say that, oh, he's arrogant. Look at him, full of himself. It's like, no, yeah, I have high values. I think we all should. Again, it's confidence. Anyway, it's important people look in their own lives. But again, I would suggest people do start maybe looking at my books because I know people aren't, and it's like there's so much in these books that will literally help people. But the reality is you have to want to invest in yourself. So if you want to evolve, then you've got to put the effort into evolve, don't you? But anyway, it's like you can lead people to water, but you can't make them drink it. So not much I can do beyond making the books. I've made the books. It's now for people to, evolve. But anyway, because that's effectively what it is. Before I wrap up there, that's effectively what it is. Like the advice I give my daughter and the strength I give her. I mean, look at her. You're a 15-year-old who struggled going to school, really kept trying to make excuses not to go. Now she's confident going to school. She's made great friends. And she has this balanced like psychology where she can handle anything put in front of her. I'd say I'm pretty good there. I think I'm really proud. I'm happy with the growth, and it's like the same way I teach her. I teach people in the books. So if they don't have the role model, it's kind of like there.